everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy. I hope you're doing really well wherever or whenever in the world that you are. Welcome to another round of Reading Roulette. Today we're going to be talking all about my July reading plans, and I don't have too many things outside of my Reading Roulette picks, but we're going to chat about those as well. But before we get into our future reading plans, let's talk very briefly about some of my June reading. I had 6 Reading Roulette prompts, and today I'm just gonna tell you what book I read, if I picked up anything. You'll have to stay tuned for my June wrap up to see my overall thoughts, impressions, review, etc. So my first Reading Roulette spin for June was a science fiction that was an anti-TBR pick. For this, I did end up picking very last minute Cinder by Marissa Meyer. The cover's here. I did read it. My second Reading Roulette spin was a historical romance that has animals in the plot, title, on the cover. Lots of flexibility with that. For this pick, I picked up The Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare, and I did read that. Next was where I ran into a bit of a hiccup, which is why I ended up having 6 total Reading Roulette spins rather than my normal 5. So my original spin was a fan fiction that had a stunning cover. And as I quickly realized, a lot of fan fiction does not have traditional covers. I didn't even know how to begin to research this. My small attempts were unsuccessful. So as a punishment spin, I re-spun the miscellaneous wheel to come up with a fan fiction with animals in it. And thanks to a recommendation from Fire Whiskey Reader 8257, I am going to pick up Tip of My Tongue, which is a Hermione fanfic. But as of today, I have not yet picked it up. I haven't started reading it quite yet, so I gotta give myself an X for this one. Next up, for my Reading Roulette spins, I selected a graphic novel with a favorite trope of mine. And for this, I picked up the first volume of Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I did read it. My next pick was a fantasy that is a TBR veteran. For this, I was hoping to read / finish Words of Radiance, and no one is surprised. If you follow me on Goodreads, you'll see I'm still in the middle of it. So again, not a prompt that I finished. And then as my final spin, I rolled a fantasy romance with a green cover. For this, I expanded the rules a little bit to just include green as a primary color on the cover. And for this, I picked up A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft, and I read that. So all in all, I did okay with my June Reading Roulette TBR. I was 4 for 6. So as a result, this is the first Reading Roulette where I genuinely did not finish some of these prompts. I either didn't complete the book or I just genuinely didn't get to them. So moving forward on my wheel, I've added a pie slice for the lost prompts. As you'll see when I pull up my spinner wheels in just a few minutes. And that's gonna include all of the Reading Roulette prompts that I didn't pick up a book for. There's still endless flexibility in what I select for those prompts. But if I were to pick that as my Reading Roulette wheel, then I would have to come back to a previously created Reading Roulette prompt that was left unread. So let's move into July reading plans. The first thing I want to mention is that I do have 2 book club books to read in the month of July. The first one is for Broadtube Book. Our next selection is The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. To be honest, I don't know anything about it. I recognize the cover. I think it's a historical fiction with some elements of magical realism, but I don't know too much more than that. So that will be our selection for Broadtube Book. And then for the book club that I'm in with my apartment community, our next pick is The Women by Kristen Hanna. Again, I don't know anything about this. I've only read one other book from Kristen Hanna, but my assumption is that it's historical fiction. I actually will be out of town when my apartment book club meeting meets, but I still want to read the book just so I can share in the camaraderie of it. Editing Andy here. I realized I forgot to mention any of my reading plans for the Buzzword Readathon pick for July. It looks like the July buzzword is anything that could be related to measurement. So I'll put on screen a picture of the book that I'm thinking of picking for this prompt. Woo! Okay, sorry if my camera angle changed a little bit. I had to turn on my fan. It is so hot. It is so hot. I'm schwitzing. Oh my God. Anywho, sorry for my Beyonce hair. If you catch it blowing in the wind. And sorry if you can hear the fan. I can't stand to not have it on. Let's jump right into reading roulette. My favorite time of the month. All right, let's cue up our spins. I will put up in the cards and in the description box one of my earlier reading roulette videos so that you can get a sense of the rules, and I do a little bit more of explaining. But now that we're in July, we're just gonna jump right in. Here we go. Spin number 1. What genre are we going for? Okay. I don't know what I'm in the mood to read. Maybe fantasy? That's always fun. Okay. Folklore, mythology, or retelling of some kind. Great. I think in theory that should be pretty flexible. All right, let's go to our miscellaneous wheel. As I say every video, this is where it gets a bit dicey. Maybe let me turn this down just a little. Sorry, I'm sure it's so loud. I'll have to check the audio. Okay, anyways, we're not gonna worry about that. So we're gonna read some kind of mythology, retelling, folklore, something. You know what, that might fit better on this wheel. Well, I guess let's see what we spin. Interesting. Something on my Kindle TBR. So something that I already own on my Kindle. Oh no, is this what's gonna get me in trouble? Hold please. You know what I have, but I completely forgot about? I can like picture the cover in my mind. Okay, so a few years ago, I read A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which I believe is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I have the second book on my Kindle, which I also assume is a retelling. Let me see. I'm not sure if A Heart So Fierce and Broken is a retelling, if it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling again, if it's just a continuation from the first book. I'm not 100% sure. But I guess like that could work. I could also pick up, as I mentioned in my quick June recap, I picked up Cinder, which is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles. That is a Cinderella retelling, and I believe that that's true for the whole series. So I could pick up the second book. I don't have it on my Kindle quite yet, but like I'm tentatively planning on continuing on in the series. So I could read that. Okay, those are two options. Interesting. I always get a little bit nervous when the prompt is for like my physical audio or Kindle TBR, because that is not an infinite list. But this one I'm okay with. I did okay with. Thank goodness. Let's move into our second spin. What genre are we looking into? Again, I'm like, ooh, give me some more romance, but I'm gonna read romance no matter what. Poetry. I have read so much poetry this year. I truly think every reading roulette round, poetry has come up, which isn't a bad thing. It's pushing me outside my comfort zone for sure. And you know what? I'm growing to like poetry a bit more, especially the more memoir style poetry I do really like. So let's see what kind of poetry we're getting into. I don't know why that one comes up the most. This poetry genre, I always end up having to do quite a bit of research too. Oh my Lanta, with animals. Okay, poetry with animals. Let the research begin. interesting. I could read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I think this is kind of like a horror poetry situation. It's very short, which I do appreciate. So that's an option. Wait a minute. I don't know what this is, but something that just came up says, Poetry for Cats, the definitive anthology of distinguished feline verse. I guess it's like a comedy kind of style. Henry Beard, the author, is an American humorist. Cool. Oh, he's one of the founders of National Lampoon. That's very funny. Okay, a possible contender. That might be light and fluffy and fun. I guess I could maybe come back to the poetry collection by Maya Angelou. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I think I had mentioned that as a possibility in an earlier round of Reading Roulette, so maybe I come back to that. I can tell I'm already being kind of flexible with this, and I think instead of the content of the poetry being about animals, which I may be a hit or miss, I'm also looking for animals in the title of poetry collections, and one of them that's standing out to me could be Words of a Goat Princess by Jessie Reyes. I think it's her debut collection, and she's a songwriter, so that could be really beautiful. Interesting. Okay, I'll pause my research there, but I've named a few possibilities. A very interesting selection. Poetry with animals. Love to see it. All right, here we go on to our third spin. With my luck and the pattern of these games, I'll probably get graphic novel. Oh no. Well, it's good I introduced this. Oh, hello hair. Well, all right, the lost prompts. So far, I have two. I can either read fan fiction with animals or a fantasy TBR vet. Honestly, I really should read a fantasy that's a TBR vet. I need to finish Words of Radiance. I know the next book in the Stormlight Archive come out later this year, and I want to be part of the hype. I want to be caught up by then. So I need to finish Words of Radiance. So that's going to be that. Okay. Third spin done. I don't need to go onto the miscellaneous wheel. Spin number 4, moving right along. I would love to get something I'm really excited to read. Like this Reading Roulette prompt should just be automatic. I would love. Okay, science fiction. You know, I've said this before. I'm not the biggest science fiction reader. However, the few that I've picked up this year have actually been pretty good, generally speaking. So cool. Let's see what kind of science fiction we're going to be picking up. Great. My sister, Jordan, who I know is watching, is going to be thrilled because I must put Harrow the Ninth on this. Science fiction, TBR vet, that is certainly the case. Just yesterday, we were at my parents' house and she was saying, why can't your Reading Roulette wheel ever work in my favor? And I said, Jordan, that's the game of chance. But she manifested that, and here we are. I will be picking up Harrow the Ninth, if that's the name of the second book in that Tamsin Muir series. I'll put the picture up here. Wow, okay. This has kind of been an easy breezy game of Reading Roulette. Minimal stress, which is unusual for me. Our last and final spin, unless this book does not exist, then I'll do one more. But I'm feeling optimistic. What are we gonna get here? I don't know. Okay. I don't like to be scared. Horror? You know what? I did, after I read Mama Tulu back in February maybe, which is a horror short story from Jessica Guess. I loved it. I ended up downloading on Apple Books that entire anthology. So, I mean, maybe I pick another story from that collection. Could be fun, but let's see. Okay, shoot. I had a little bit of technical difficulty and I forgot to screen record that previous spin. So with movie magic, we're just gonna move on and we're gonna do it again. I think I recorded successfully the selection of horror. Oh no. Well, we're gonna keep it moving and grooving. Record, go. Okay. Now what kind of horror are we going to get? Interesting. Okay. Color word in the title. A color word in the title. Let me go to that anthology and see if any of those fit. That would be great. Blood Daughter is one of them. Could blood be a shade of red? Probably not. Dang! That would have been really convenient. Okay, that's fine. I feel like this is gonna be easy to find. Horror books. We're just gonna start really basic there. The scariest books of all time. Oh Lord. Okay, I could read The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This looks like it's a gothic horror classic situation, which is very long, almost 700 pages. An option, I suppose. I could read The Red Grove by Tessa Fontaine. Sure. That's a very spooky cover. I could read The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Lavelle. It's got some like urban fantasy elements. That's kind of interesting. Something to consider. I could read White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyemi. Got some witchy vibes, which I'm not mad at. Okay, that's a good place to start with my horror book with a color word in the title. A very interesting mix I have here going for July. I'm gonna be honest, none of these are really screaming summertime reads for me. So I don't know how this is gonna go. I am very much in the mood for these fast-paced, page-turning, like bingeable books. And looking at this temporary list, I don't know if any of these reading roulette picks are gonna do that for me. But you know what? We never underestimate the magic of reading roulette. You can always find a hidden gem. So I'm gonna go in with an open mind and optimism and hope that I love every single one of these. So there we go. A very interesting mix that we have going on for July. The two book club books that I'm gonna read are The Women by Kristen Hanna and The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. Then for reading roulette, my first spin was some kind of folklore, mythology, retelling based story that's on my Kindle. My second spin was poetry that features animals either in the content of the collection or in the title. The third spin was a lost prompt situation, and I believe that I'm gonna pick up a fantasy TBR vet, although I could also see myself reading that fan fiction. My fourth spin was a science fiction TBR vet. This is the only book where I feel pretty confident that I know what I'm gonna pick up specifically, which is the second book in, oh God, I'm again forgetting the name of this series. Let me look it up. The Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir. And then my fifth and final spin is a horror book with a color word in the title. An eclectic mix indeed. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what some of your July reading plans are. I'd love to hear what books you're excited to pick up. Maybe it'll help inspire the mood reader in me more than my reading roulette game has in this month. That's okay though. I'm trying to be hopeful that all these books are gonna be 5 stars, but you never know. We'll see. We shall see. If you want to support my channel, consider liking, subscribing, pushing the notification bell. I really, really appreciate all of the support. Feel free to comment down below, truly anything. I'd love to have a discussion or get to know you guys a little bit better. I wish you all a very happy reading month. I hope you stay cool if you're anywhere in the US because it's a scorcher these days. We're in a bit of a heat wave. It's very warm. Anyway, all that to say, Thanks for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye.